Cooperative Governance Minister Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma says that the regulations pertaining to Level 4 restrictions will be published on Thursday next week. Restaurants will be allowed to open, but only on a food delivery basis. Dlamini-Zuma says that the exercise will be permitted under strict conditions. To get some reaction on that, I'm now joined via Skype by Wendy Alberts, who's the CEO of the Restaurant Association of South Africa. Wendy, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I would imagine amongst other industry sectors, restaurants have really been hit hard by the lockdown. So I guess the message from the President on Thursday came as some relief.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, light at the tunnel is always a wonderful gift. And, it's been very trying and challenging times. And, in times of such uncertainty like we've been through, it's a process for us to reopen. And we embracing all the difficulties that we've had within the industry and trying to really find mechanisms to springboard the industry back to life. So absolutely, yes, there is elements that there is some hope, especially for a lot of staff. But I think that the next 24 hours will be trying and telling times, and that will speak for the industry whether or not we will reopen completely for delivery. There's a lot of components and a lot of consultation, and I think by Tuesday we will have better answers for the industry, and we'll be able to really put ourselves in a position to say how the delivery basis will work for those restaurants that choose to open for deliveries only.
All right, so I think you've already sort of started to answer my next question is, what do you understand by Level 4 operations for restaurants? What can you do and what can't you?
The Level 4 allows a restaurant facility to do deliveries only. And there is time restrictions, so the last delivery, from what I understand, and I'll get further guidance on this and be able to confirm everything by Tuesday, is that the last delivery order can be taken by 7 p.m. So these are the clarities and some elements that we need clarity on, and we'll have to work closer with the consultants that we are dealing with to be able to bring clarity for us. We've got a number of restaurants and a number of takeaway operators who have indicated that it's not economically viable for them to open without takeaways. And we completely understand. Government has been very clear. We've listened to the ministers. They've absolutely been clear on their message that they really want to slow the curve and that they want us to respect that they don't want people on the streets. So we have to really be innovative over the next couple of days, and we need to come up with business models that will work. And we've got to look at ways that we can sustain and support restaurants who want to do the takeaway. We've engaged with third-party deliveries. There's a number of financial elements as well that we're tackling. We've got some new third-party deliveries that are on board that are coming in with very competitive rates. So there's some good news for our restaurants there. Sounds positive from some people's perspective. They are excited. They're looking forward to the days and weeks ahead on how they'll rebuild their businesses into new operations. And I think the consumers are also very excited to be able to get takeaways from restaurants. I think there is a lot of smiles around for everybody. We just got to make sure that we can make the numbers work within the industry.
All right. As you say, it's going to be a challenge for some restaurants who were never delivery-based and suddenly going to have to learn new ways of doing things. I just wonder, so far, have there been a number of restaurants that are likely not to come back in the near future because they just didn't have enough in reserve and perhaps were already operating on thin margins?
Absolutely, and it's not necessarily that they're operating on thin margins. I think they've made sensible decisions, both on the size and capacity as well as the financial demands on those larger restaurant businesses. They've taken a blanket approach to stay closed until all the bans have been lifted. That is well sensible. I think that they're also businesses that have done their corporate compliance to perfection, and their staff are certainly claiming from the UIF, and their staff are being paid, and they're in a position to support their staff. And I think that's crucial at this time, is that it's really important that we do try every mechanism that we can to look after the staff that's been very loyal to the industry. These are...
Is there any relief for the restaurants in the stimulus package, do you know?
We run beautiful businesses, we make beautiful food, this opportunity. Absolutely, that is the most important part, and we're going to look at the pathway of making the money work. We'll also be able to put out a set of guidelines for the restaurants earlier in the week as to the terms and conditions on operating with the health and safety elements as well as the operational structures for COVID-19. I'm sure we'll receive that document in the next day or so to distribute.
All right. Okay, Wendy, we're going to leave it, but it seems as if a little bit of work still needs to be done in terms of getting clarity on what these new operations will look like, what people will be able to do, those restaurants that do decide to reopen. But thanks so much indeed. Perhaps we'll chat to you again next week when things are a little bit clearer. All right.
Thank you, Peter.
That's Wendy Alberts, who's CEO of the Restaurants Association. And as we've been hearing from Minister Ibrahim Patel and the Cooperative Minister, some of these easing of regulations means some operations can come back into play. Restaurants will be able to open, but only deliver to their customers.